I need to talk more about my copyright issues, and I don't know if I've been doing it right in my videos. There's some way to do it that might help people to listen and hear what I'm telling them about these stars on television. I'm not joking around. They're evil, they're vicious, they're not cute and funny. My work was cute and funny, my poems and my cartoons, my comedy blogs, they were adorable. My songs obviously were very appealing, but those people who stole them were creeps who lied to you. And it's not any lie when you lie with poetry or music. That's a really unholy lie that can be very dangerous if it spreads. But people don't write poems to have them all ripped apart and changed into something else. We write them so that because we feel very strongly about whatever it is, the message that the poem has to say. And if you're going to mess with that, you're messing with people's hearts. When you mess with poetry and music, when you lie with music, you're messing with people's hearts. Some people like the music, they want to admire you. You're lying to them with this music. You're letting them admire you for my talent, for something that you deserve nothing for. You deserve nothing for my talent. Nothing at all. You deserve no admiration for my talent. If you steal my work, you deserve nothing. You should be hated for that. God, and they don't let people stay on the internet for 12 years and write one song after another that were on the radio, as the songs all disappear from the radio when he's rewriting them, or TV shows that disappear when I rewrite my blogs. They don't let people just make all that up and then just by a coincidence all those shows go out of business. And magazines too, I understand, go out of business, don't they? Some magazines that the media wants you to think are safe for your children by taking a picture of a child sitting on his father's lap with the magazine open in front of him. They try to trick you into thinking it's safe for children when it supports nasty fraud with my cartoons. Now you see these publications that rip me off disappearing. You see these radio stations that steal my music disappearing into the background, shows going off the air, stars mysteriously disappearing at the same time that I say they're in prison. Then I can't be lying, and especially if I'm still on the internet saying the same thing that I said 12 years ago, then I can't be lying about it. And I'm not lying when I tell you that Saturday Night Live stole my poetry and tried to turn it into comedy sketches that they could be cute and funny with, and left me to suffer the hate of the whole world while everyone was loving them. And I'm not lying when I tell you that they deliberately got a band to try to throw me in jail, a band that had stolen my music. That they tried to get this band to throw me in jail before they would let them on the show as the musical guest. I'm not lying about that either. And I'm not lying when I tell you that Dateline NBC was very deeply mixed up in this crime, to the point of, I would say, being, if we still had old witchcraft laws, that they could burn at the stake for what they did. Not lying when I tell you that Dateline went to prison. I had a lawyer in Ottawa watching my back. I told him everything, and he watched my back when I came here, back to Vancouver. That Dateline host went to prison I'm not lying when I tell you Tina Fey went to prison. That's people go to prison for stealing music. People go to prison for stealing comedy. They go to prison for that. And they're punished worse than anybody else in there. They're not the hero of the prison. They're the bitch of the prison when they go to prison. They're the goof of the cell block that has to service everybody there. And if you saw the kind of humiliating punishments that they impose on these jerks in prison, you'd never want to look at them again. And I'm not lying when I tell you that my copyright is protected. It's not because I'm so great. It's because of our society, our post-Nazi technology fucking society, that I'm protected. Now you want to try and rip me off, and you wait and see what I can do to you from this fucking room right here. Now I'm going to start reading one of my poems that got turned into cute little comedy sketches on Saturday Night Live, when it was a poem that was about something deep. Something deep, and something that I felt was very urgent that had to be talked about. And which also has references to God in it, that makes it all the more unholy to steal it and lie to people with it. It's called The Masterpiece, and it's here on my blog site of 4,000 HTML files that I hard-coded myself in Notepad so that I could have a copy of what I have online on my own computer. Because what's online gets hacked so much. It might as well not even be there. And it's a story about art because I think about art, because I do art. Look, I draw. Look, see, I draw. I didn't write it so I could be a comedy star. I wrote it because I had issues. Issues about what it's like to be an artist in this time. And have to be stuck in a position of truth in a society that's full of bullshit. Totally full of bullshit from the TV. How impossible that makes my life. How impossible it makes anyone's life, anyone who wants to live in truth. How impossible it makes their lives. The masterpiece complete. So this chapter was omitted by the poetry plagiarizers on TV because it wasn't funny enough for them. This chapter here, the purpose. So in other words, the purpose of the whole story, the purpose, the thing that ties the whole story together. We've got to get rid of that, right? Oh, and it has religious references in it. Yeah, oh well, no one is more godless than NBC. 1. The purpose. The Lord thought truth was beautiful in any form or spectacle. Truth. And coating it with fine veneers was starting to distort. Humanity's adherence to the outermost appearance grew, which gave way to the rise of sin by falsehoods they'd export. Got to get rid of that, eh, NBC? That's not funny enough. It's too much like you and your network. Referring too much to you and your way of doing broadcasting. Now we're going to discuss a little theology here, Christian theology. You'll have to excuse me if you're not Christian. A sweet and ordinary bird expressed the best his person third. His second walked the earth in an informal one-piece cloak. The call to plainness of his word had been by all the nations heard, and yet the countless multitudes had still not to him woke plainness, plainness. Each time he gave a gift of worth to somebody of common birth. As soon as glory was revealed, the devil interfered. The outer shell was everything to those who held success's string, for vanity was largely how their riches were revered. That says so much there. It says, I'm on to you, rich, bad, you evil rich people. There's some good ones. I'm on to you, bad ones. I know that you're miserable. I know that you're unhappy, and I know that you want happiness. You want to be able to get happiness from your money somehow. I know that you're very desperate to get money from your happiness. You want to change happiness. You want to change it, redefine it, so that it fits into your wallet better. Good luck with that, and you're so stubborn that you're destroying the whole planet with this goal. The use of electricity had furthered this duplicity, infusing fell illusions with a paralyzing light. Have you ever seen anyone in front of a TV? They look like they're in a coma. So that the good recipients of his divine beneficence were overwhelmed by power and could not tell wrong from right. Hey, electric power, physical power. And there might be a component to your television that you don't even know about, residing in your very brain, that they forgot to tell you about in school while they were putting it in. The time had come to make a man who'd stay the course within his plan, to furnish ample stamina against the evil tide. He'd bless him with a gift for art, and fill with love his open heart, and let the spread of showy truth extend the whole world wide, his open heart. Have I ever hidden anything from anybody? Do I hide anything from you? Have I ever tried to hide anything from you people? You see where I live, right? You see every corner of my room here, almost. It's a small room. You have my address, you have my name, you have my face. And you have 12 years of every thought and feeling that I've had expressed online in my Blogger account. And have I ever hidden anything from you? Have I needed to hide anything? Anything at all? Open heart. I don't think I've hidden anything. I've even told you about how I had to stoop and pick cigarette butts off the fucking sidewalk. I haven't hidden a single fucking thing from anybody. And that's how you can tell that someone's honest, when they don't hide anything. Excessive artificial vaunt would fail to be a source of want, but only proper application of the noble skill. Though fearsome ones in high employ would gather to the truth destroy, they'd come up short against the force of one intrepid will. He'd let him know he had a soul for which to choose a timeless goal, and put the strongest arguments inside his able brain. He'd give him sight to penetrate the fellow person's inner state, in order to upon the underlying meaning train. He'd name him David, like the king who slew the giant with a sling, and set him on the earth among the modestly sustained. A paintbrush in a hand so brave was guaranteed to stir a wave. But only by disruption could the greater good be gained. Now who's the great hero star of this? David or God? Seems to me that God is the big star of this chapter. God. And that's who they cut out of the play on their godless network, so that they could commit their unholy crime with my poem. Would you like me to move on to the next, perhaps more familiar verse now? Perhaps they left this one out too. This is the verse where I talk about the connection between the devil and broadcasters. 2. The adversary. The devil treated his aides well to help him swell the ranks of hell, at least until the time arrived for each to fall below. He showered them with shining wealth and kept them in the finest health. Upon his loyalist, the highest honors he'd bestow. His force was undetectable in persons so respectable, which let the spread of evil go entirely unchecked, as laws were passed to make the need for people to indulge in greed and meet the disappointing fate that they did not expect. To shield the fallen from their grief, illusions offered brief relief, which failed to keep them happy unless constantly applied. For this, the new technology employed a slick psychology, from which the most determined would find difficult to hide. The worldly dream of zillionaires was passed off to the crowd as theirs, to reinforce the glory that would otherwise soon drop. And those who had the greatest means to dominate through TV screens were rated by the devil as the flower of his crop. Though other painters by the lake had chosen to a landscape make, would David turn his easel round to face the other way, and render a subjective look at shoppers on the banner's hook, their megamall depicted as a crushing bird of prey. His daring ingenuity, beast of prey, beg my pardon, I didn't see that. My eyes are starting to go as I age, trying to drive home this truth to you all. I'm dying of old age. His daring ingenuity and capable dexterity won favor from the passers-by who praised him for his work. It left him feeling tranquilized to be so strongly patronized, oblivious to enemies who in the throng might lurk. Now we go back to the network. The Saffron Hotline special ring awoke the chairman with a spring to answer an important call from down in the abyss. An artist with a bent for truth was openly corrupting youth with images designed to throw their programming amiss. It ceased with a despotic shout to snuff the brazen upstart out, or suffer for his failure a disturbing penalty. The influential Mr. Large would to the target hands discharge, once weaknesses were gathered by a thorough inquiry. Did that chapter make it on to NBC? I wonder. So the first chapter about God creating the hero so that he could stand up to the evil lying networks was omitted altogether, I gather. And then this one, where we see that the devil is the boss of all the broadcasters. He's their ultimate chairman down in hell. That was left out too, was it? Oh, it wouldn't be nearly as good of a story if you're going to leave all that out. I don't know what the hell people thought they were watching. A disembodied chapter from my poem and thinking it was a whole work. The Temptress, yes. Oh, I wish I could show it to you on the camera, the Temptress here. Can I show it to you on the camera? Oh, I can't reach the camera, that's too bad. You should see the illustration I did for it. Oh, it's just a cute little pencil drawing. But you know, even though it's just a pencil drawing, really half-assed, it still looks much better than Tina Fey. And it's because I wanted beautiful women in this poem. I wasn't thinking of Tina Fey for this character, the Temptress, because Tina Fey is not tempting. She's not tempting. She doesn't have anything going on to tempt me, so I wouldn't never use her in this role. 3. The Temptress. Profound effects upon the brain were visited by Mary Jane, incentivizing centers that provoked the urge to laugh. Her company came at a fee too high for those in poverty, but for the artist, she agreed to lower it by half. And I get mine for $5 a gram, ha ha. He'd had a pressurizing day and recognized her straight away, her flowing viridescent wrapping flapping in the breeze. I had to look up viridescent in the thesaurus. She emptied his collection plate and offered him a soothing date, extending warm and leafy arms to set his mind at ease. The picture he'd been working on was seen to him as going wrong. He wanted better to make contrast of the bad to good. But once he gained a sniffing sense of Mary Jane's rich redolence, he realized that all his shades were set down as they should. Her orders were to trip him up so his advance would interrupt, diminishing his image with the laugh of a buffoon. And on his work she kept her eye, alert for tricks that she could try, as they enjoyed the fading of a sunny afternoon. He had an animated way to certain things that he would say. Reflexively a smirk came on her at the sight of him, especially when overrun by passionate opinion. His eyes would more protrude against a semblance fiercely grim. Succeeding to subdue his wit, she seized upon the laughing fit, to plant a comic mustache on the figure that he'd drawn, but found herself too unprepared for the expression that he shared, incredulous with outrage by his flawless vision gone. Hilariously overpowered, she fell hard against his glower, soon reduced to spasms that relinquished her control, so that she had to turn her back and put an end to her attack, abandoning at once her incapacitating goal. The word of the decisive loss was sorely taken by the boss. He thought for sure he'd triumph on the first submerging strike. The evil effort to debauch would have to be moved up a notch to strengthen the assault upon his victim's peaceful psyche. So, drugs. They try to attack this guy with drugs, with marijuana. Try to make it his downfall. They try to destroy him with marijuana. The marijuana does incapacitate, but using irony, of course, using irony, I invent a character who can make the marijuana laugh. You see, it's irony. It's just a comic device. But I had to think of a way that he could defeat this enemy somehow. 4. The blighters. The blighters, you know, it's... I wonder if you've ever had a place that had bed bugs. Have you ever lived with bed bugs? You know, that's what the blighters are. They're bed bugs. And have you ever been bitten by them? You know, the next time I get a bed bug bite, maybe I'll make a video of it to show you what it looks like. How your whole arm all breaks out like it's covered in hives from the allergic reaction. But you know, I keep a pretty tough stand against them here. You know, I just coat the whole room with poison every 2 weeks. Every week or two. Coat the whole place with poison after I bleach everything. But it still doesn't keep them all together out. But it does at least let me live comfortably here. But the blighters, this is a poem where I've taken something from my life, a suffering, and I've turned it into a laugh for other people to enjoy. And do you think that little pampered little pets on TV should receive the thanks for that effort? I doubt it. For the blighters. The blighters were a tiny troop of creatures who knew how to snoop, to catch their prey asleep or stuck in horizontal slumps. They knew just where to poke the bill, and drilled for nourishment until the surfaces they worked on were all blanketed in bumps. They'd been dispatched to David's bed to play their havoc with his head by someone on the payroll of his dedicated foe. And there they waited in the dark for the right time to make their mark, his constitution destined for a prickling new low. Their last forlorn recipient, to demonstrate his discontent from finding studded chaos in his sagging belly's fold, had finally to pieces fell, and with a madly plaintive yell went crashing through his window to explode on concrete cold. Since this one was without the weight to help him from them insulate, his sure and rapid breakdown was the outcome they presumed, as shockwaves of approaching feet to cushy recess forced retreat by signaling the entrance of the person they had doomed. Boom, boom, coming up to the door, you see. Exhaustively, he'd combed the street to find a few small things to eat, resulting in a somewhat better than the normal fare. A patch of earth contained a crumb, and someone dropped a pack of gum, and juicy yellow dandelions sprouted everywhere. To make sure his nutrition stuck, into a bowl he dumped the guck, and fortified it with a squirt of Elmer's safety glue. Then with a clothespin on his nose, to gaping mouth the mixture rose, surrendering the gullet it was bound to travel through. His demon hunger held at bay, he headed for his bed to lay, collapsing from the drain of his humiliating run. To motionlessness he'd concede before the bugs came out to feed, led by the pathway of the most enthusiastic one. The straw from which it took its drag induced a deep and fitful gag, which sent the others fleeing through the crack beneath the door. Again the shot had landed wide, as Mr. Large his foulest cried, determined to crush this resilient artist even more. So, rich people use their money as weapons against poor people. And one weapon of poverty, I think, is pestilence, which, if you ask me, they have a very slack attitude about, depending on your income in this society of ours. Well, that's 1 to 4, and I see that my camera's almost out of power, probably running out of time as well, so I'm going to cut it off here, process this bit, and come back and recite the rest of it for you.